Oh, good day. Good day. It's good to see you. Well, I see someone's there, but thank you. I hope you had a wonderful day today. Hope you had a good day today, considering. Yeah. This is gonna be easy. It's gonna be an easy finishing up of this book. Oh, good day. I got notes everywhere. I get some of this stuff right here. And books. I like to keep handy stuff. I need to have a surround shelf where I can just reach out and put it back and get it and put it back and get it. There's so much going on and stuff, y'all. Project 2025, honey, is on the move. Now they riding your ass in 2 vehicles. Yep. What Dr. Ray Hagen said, that psycho philosophical vehicle of enslavement, that vehicle, and now this Project 2025 riding his ass off. Seems like every day now we're gonna get something new, according to that Project 2025. Yeah, stuff I never even knew about is being attacked, stripped away, taken away from Black America. Try to divide us and stuff. That's their ultimate motive, to divide us. I don't know, to get us down, our numbers down so minuscule. What's the overall plan? Mm-hmm. I don't even hardly be on the social medias and stuff like that, but I be seeing the knowledge being shared from TikTok and stuff. And the latest one is the census. The census. They trying to tamper with the census, I guess. I have to look into it and see what they talking about and stuff, but that right there will further divide us all, and there's finna be a whole lot of undermining when that happens. So I guess we'll be like, trying to put us into subgroups. I don't know. Well, I find out, I'll see it. I just want to know, hey, what the fuck is finna happen? What you got planned? I come up with some solutions to help us, just like everybody else says. I don't want to be part of the problem and just sit back and stuff. I want to know what's going on. I want to put in my solutions, my ideas and stuff. If it don't work, okay, let's go with yours. But we got to do something. We got to do something. And I'm just like my mom. I'm not going to sit back once I know. It take me a long time, but once I know something ain't right, I got to get myself, got to get myself on code and get in where the fight at. Vernon John said, if you see a good fight, get in it. Ain't no better fight than this, y'all, for us, for our babies and stuff. I have no idea what these people is planning on doing. This Project 2025 New World Order, I don't know. This ain't no part of life I ever imagined or thought about or dreamed about or had nightmares about or nothing. Because we all know Terminator. We all know the movie Terminator, all of the series. I liked the part 1, and that was it. That was enough for me. I didn't really have to see the rest of them. I look at them with my grandbabies, though, and let them know this is y'all future. They really doing this. I tell them. I let them know. My grandbabies ain't finna be shocked and excited and happy when they see Sophia the humanoid outside and they see robots outside. No, they finna know. Oh yeah, we should. I'm glad we were wary. They need to know these things and stuff because some kids and stuff, some people gonna think it's cool. Oh yeah, it's cool. Look at Sophia. When she talk to me, fuck all that dumb shit. Fuck all that dumb shit. She gonna talk to you and record you. So that's my whole agenda. That's why I'm even here for my people, cause we ain't got no idea. But we gonna finish this book tonight. We at the end. We are at the end. And if it hadn't been storming last night, we would have finished it last night. Thank you, Layla. It's so good to see you. We finishing another book. My sister, we finishing another one. And this right here is giving me a little glimpse into our brother being, still kind-hearted. He frank and blunt and to the point, but he's still kind-hearted. I can't say that's me though, but yeah, I really appreciate him writing this book, and it did give me some insight. And now, I'm just gonna process it my own way, how I handle things and speak and stuff. I will try to improve, but yeah, I want to just be myself and stuff. I don't want to be regulated where I got to call white America beloved and stuff like that to let them know that I don't mean them no harm, because they motherfucking ass just gonna have to take my word for it. That I don't mean them no harm. We don't mean them no harm. Ain't no need in doubting that, because we the ones that's always worried about them doing us harm. So I just feel like that and stuff. And I'm gonna read some more of his books. That's fine with me that, he expressed himself like that and stuff. He got the point across to white America. His sermon to white America, it was on cue for this time right here when it was. Now, the next sermon to their ass, I don't know who it's going to come from. Might be Deborah Blair, Toni Morrison, I don't know. But we're going to find it and stuff. We're going to read it too. So thank y'all for being here and stuff, and let's get started. We on Bolden Unchained. I am Face the Nation. We here to assist Black America. I like to say Black media, but I don't know how, our people feel. Because we are some very forgiving people and stuff, and so I just say Black America now. And to uncover and condemn all of this bullshit, every last motherfucking agenda. That's why I'm here. My people need help. We need help. We need to know what the fuck's done happened to us. We looking through a spiritual lens, because I ain't religious. When I thought I was religious and stuff, I wasn't religious. I couldn't even go to the churches like y'all do, morning, noon, and night, 2, 3, 4 days a week. Stay all day Saturday, then go back Sunday morning, then go back Sunday night. So all along, I wasn't even religious. My mother and them was, and I thought that I was too, but I'm all spiritual. Therefore, we looking through a spiritual lens of loyalty, resilience, and education. Because we need to know who are we loyal to. Right now, as we see Babylon, America, crumbling down, let our ass crumble. Let it crumble. We got to fight this another way. We got to fight this with the pen now. With the pen now. I know a lot of people think, yeah, we ain't going out there and stuff, and we ain't. As far as I'm concerned, I ain't stepping another foot back out there unless it's us going somewhere to deliver these papers, to deliver this national action. Other than that, I'd rather stay right here, learn what I need to learn. Yes, honey, baby child. Learn what I need to learn. We need to learn what we need to learn so we can begin to fight back like that. Fight back with the pen now. Ain't no more marching and shit unless we finna go deliver them documents and stuff, that national action. Other than that, we fighting back with the pen and the paper, baby. Finna get on to them statutes, them laws, bills, codes. Hey, what's going on? Flip that page over there. Flip it back over. Let me read that again. Yep, that's how we gonna tackle this. Now, we gotta try something totally new. That's what it is. Reading, learning, explaining it to us. If I'm wrong about some of this stuff, let me know what it is and stuff, because I get my own idea of what's going on here, because to me it's all manipulation, and it can't be too far from the truth. It cannot be too far from the truth. Now, ain't nothing you can do about no meteor. Ain't nothing you can do about no meteor. That's out of your control, mine, everybody else's too. And a missile, ain't nothing we can do it. That's out of our control too. But we can prepare. We can prepare for things and stuff, so we can at least be a little ready for what's gonna happen and stuff. And we know whichever one come, meteor or motherfucking missile, everybody ain't gonna make it. Everybody ain't gonna make it out of everybody in general. So that's a given. If it does happen, I ain't calling it to happen or nothing, but hell, shit, Mother Gaia and cosmic energy is pissed right about now. They're fed up. Mother Gaia is ready to Mother Gaia, I think she ready to go back to totally black when there wasn't no other people on this planet. At least she want to get rid of white folks. I don't know. It just seemed like that's what's happening to me. And cosmic energy also. They working together because of what happened to us. Because of what happened to us. I know they come up with a lot of reasons why the earth is going through all the tsunamis and the tornadoes and the earthquakes and all of that stuff right there. And it could very well could be true. Science is science. It was never one of my strong points. But to me, everything that I'm learning, Mother Gaia, the earth, and cosmic energy, the skies, the ethers, is waking up because we can't wake up. We haven't woken up. We are waking up now. And we catching up. We turning over. Looking out of one eye. I don't know. Maybe we stirring in our sleep. I don't know. But I know cosmic energy and Mother Gaia have activated. They have activated. Could be because cosmic energy knows we are carbon. Why wouldn't cosmic energy know that we so traumatized we can't get up? We need a little assistance here. We're a little too late to get up quick enough. So cosmic energy and Mother Gaia, they stepping in to help us. It's all spiritual. It's all spiritual, That's why we got to wake up so we can be ready when they cross. When they cross paths, like the Mount Shasta and the Sea Mount Axel. When they cross paths, well, when they, come in connection with each other, and his brother said it's going to be like 10,000 earthquakes on this motherfucking planet, on this planet right here. I don't know if it's just going to be in America or what, because, you have like 40, 50 earthquakes a day, I think. It's, something like that. But I digress. I just know Mother Gaia and cosmic energy is activating, and it's time for us to activate too. It's time for us to see things as they really are. Maya Angelou said, when somebody tell you who they are, you believe them. White folks have told us over and over again. Over and over. They've shown us. They proved it to us. Everything that's been done and stuff has been proof of what Maya Angelou said. We can't be divided anymore. We got to know that we got to stick together. All of us. Get our pen and paper out. Get our pen out. Our critical thinkers and stuff gonna have to let us know where we need to go with, so we could go ahead and get on this, because somebody better find that loophole. I don't give a damn. Everything that's being signed, every I that's being dotted, every T that's being crossed, Black people better be on it. We better be on it. Marching and stuff ain't gonna get it. If we ain't marching with some national actions to get us the fuck out of this bullshit y'all got going on, we better sit back and better be putting together a plan. Putting together a plan. We're 20 years late with this right here. We didn't saturate our masses with this like we were supposed to. Even if it was supposed to be one community at a time. 20 years late now. And we're doing it now. And it can't be too late to at least keep trying these things. But we're in a hard spot right now. We're in a hard spot. So, I just want to go on and read, because we're going to finish this. It ain't even going to take all night. I'll be done with this probably about 1 o'clock. Yeah, that's it. It's just a couple of little pages right here that he got in the back. It might be about some church stuff because he is a minister, but we're going to finish. Oh, copyright disclaimer under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news support, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I know, right? Now watch here. This shit gonna be needed. And we are this is I believe that's Roman numeral 6, but we just finished chapter 6. This right here is like the benediction, responsive. This old man was very wise, and he could answer questions that was almost impossible for people to answer. So some went to him one day, 2 young people, and said, we're gonna trick this guy today. We're gonna catch a bird and we're gonna carry it to this old man, and we're going to ask him, this that we hold in our hands today, is it alive or is it dead? If he says dead, we're going to turn it loose and let it fly. But if he says alive, we're going to crush it. So they walked up to this old man and they said, this that we hold in our hands today, is it alive or is it dead? He looked at the young people and he smiled and he said, it's in your hands. That was Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer. Yep. He didn't say it was alive or dead. He said it's in your hands. Beloved, in this sermon I have shared with you, and beloved white folks, this is Tears We Cannot Stop, a sermon to white America by Michael Eric Dyson. Beloved white folks, in this sermon I have shared with you from the depths of my heart what I believe to be true about the state of race in America. As we prepare to part, I offer you a few practical suggestions about what you as individuals can do to make things better. First, my friends, you must make reparation. I know that you may not have followed the fierce debate over reparations. And even if you have, white people, you may not support the idea. I like to say white people, so whenever I'm saying it, it's me. When I'm reading and stuff, because I need us to know who we reading about, who we talking about, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Black America and white America. If affirmative action is a hard sell for many of you, then reparations, the notion that the descendants of enslaved Africans should receive from the society that exploited them some form of compensation, is beyond the pale. But surely you can see the justice of making reparation, even if you can't make it happen politically. Please don't say that your ancestors didn't own slaves. Your white privilege has not been hampered by that fact. Black sweat built the country you now reside in, and you continue to enjoy the fruits of that labor. There are all sorts of ways to make reparation work at the local and individual level. You can hire Black folk at your office and pay them slightly better than you would ordinarily pay them. You can pay the Black person who cuts your grass double what you might ordinarily pay. Or you can give a deserving Black student in your neighborhood, or one you run across in the course of your work, scholarship help. In fact, your religious or civic institution can commit 1/10 of its resources to educating Black youth. It may be best to think of reparation as a secular tithe, a portion of money and other resources set aside for causes that are worthy of support. You can, as an individual or as a small group, set up an RRA, an individual reparations account. There are thousands upon thousands of Black kids whose parents cannot afford to send them to summer camp, or to pay fees for a sports team, or to buy instruments to play if they attend one of the ever-shrinking number of schools that has a band. Their parents cannot pay for tutors for math or science or English or whatever subject their kids need help with. An IRA will work just fine. You can also pay a Black tax, just as Black folks do. The Black tax refers to the cost and penalty of being Black in America, of having to work twice as hard for half of what whites get by less strenuous means. You can help defray the Black tax by offering Black tax incentives. Let me pour some water in my tea. If a Black accountant is doing a good job for you, assume a surcharge and pay her more. If a black lawyer performs good service, then compensate him even more for his labor. You can also treat some black folk to a few of the signs of appreciation you offer to military veterans. For instance, at football games, there ought to be a civil rights veterans night to recognize the valor, honor, and sacrifice of those who made this country great. Living legends like Andrew Young, Diane Nash, Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, and Eleanor Holmes Norton. As part of an IRA, you can also pay for massages for working class folks. You can choose 5 black children to sponsor on an annual trip to the local zoo. You can begin a film club for black children to attend movie theaters in more affluent areas where they might also enjoy a trip to the museum. Or you can pay for the textbooks of 10 black college students each year. The point is to be creative and transparent a bit of your resources, even if it's in modest amounts, to deserving and often struggling descendants of the folk who gave this country its great wealth and whose offspring rescued its reputation for democracy. Beloved, you must also educate yourselves about black life and culture. Racial literacy is as necessary as it is undervalued. What should you read? I always start with James Baldwin, the most ruthlessly honest analyst of white innocence yet to pick up a pen. Baldwin was a boy preacher, and though he outgrew the rituals and theology that hemmed in the very souls religion meant to free, he never left the pulpit. His words drip with the searing eloquence of an evangelist of race, determined to get to the brutal bottom of America's original sin. Baldwin married the gospel fervor of Jonathan Edwards to the literary style of Henry James, most notably in The Fire Next Time. Beloved, you should read books about slavery that prove it was far more varied and complicated than once believed, including Ira Berlin's incisive history of slavery before cotton became king in Many Thousands Gone, Stephanie Camp's Closer to Freedom, which explores the fate of enslaved women, and books like Thavolia Glimpse Out of the House of Bondage, which probes the relationships between black and white women. Ooh. And then we just read They Were Her Property a few readings ago. And that was between a particular white woman, her master husband, and the slaves and stuff. The novels, The Known World by Edward P. Jones, about a black family that owned enslaved blacks in the antebellum South, and Charles Johnson's Middle Passage, about a newly freed slave who hops aboard a slave ship, give color and texture to slavery. Toni Morrison's epic novel, Beloved, lyrically probes the after effects of enslavement on the minds and souls of black folk. Her Playing in the Dark is a slim classic that brilliantly probes the white literary imagination and how it silences and distorts the dark legacy from which it derives its meaning. Slavery was ensconced in politics, intertwined with the economy, and thus you need to know impressive words like Stephen Hahn's A Nation Under Our Feet, Manisha Sinha's The Counter-Revolution of Slavery, Walter Johnson's Soul by Soul, Sven Becker's Empire of Cotton, and Edward E. Baptist's The Half Has Never Been Told. Vincent Brown's The Reaper's Garden offers a haunting glimpse into what enslaved and enslaving people in the Atlantic world made of death. Drew Gilpin Faust, This Republic of Suffering, does for the Civil War what Brown does for slavery. The Civil War was, centrally, the infernal contest of white religions over black flesh and its future in America, which you'll discover when you tackle Jane McPherson's fiercely elegant battle cry of freedom. You should read about what went on after the Civil War, especially classics like W.B. Du Bois' Black Reconstruction in America, and Eric Fournier's Reconstruction. And you should ride the epic sweep of black migration along with Isabel Wilkerson in her achingly brilliant The Warmth of Other Suns. The Warmth of Other Suns. Beloved, white folks, take in as much as you can about the modern civil rights movement. Glimpse in stellar works like Alden Morris's Origins of the Civil Rights Movement, and Henry Hampton and Steve Thayer's Voices of Freedom. The book, based on Hampton's monumental documentary television series, Eyes on the Prize, which you should make every effort to see. Or you can make your way through Taylor Branch's trilogy on Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement, Imparting the Waters, Pillar of Fire, and At Canaan's Edge, or the single-volume summary, America in the King Years, and David Garrow's exhaustive and illuminating study of King, Bearing the Cross, or Diane McWhorter's riveting account of the movement's impact on white families in Birmingham, including her own in Carry Me Home. Gilbert King's heartbreaking Devil in the Grove shines a light on Jim Crow as he probes the case of 4 young black men accused of raping a 17-year-old white girl in Florida, and the valiant defense they got from the future Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall. You should also read Barbara Ransby's moving portrait of the great organizer and activist, Ella Baker and the Black Freedom Movement, Kay Miller's engrossing study of freedom fighter Fannie Lou Hamer, This Little Light of Mine, and In Struggle, Claiborne Carson's compelling study of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Grapple with the Black freedom struggle too, especially the impact of Black nationalism's most influential leader, Malcolm X, explored in Manny Marable's magnum opus, Malcolm X. Peniel Joseph's seminal, Waiting Till the Midnight Hour, invites us to understand the rich sweep of the Black Power movement, as does his penetrating study of the movement's most iconic leader, Stokely Carmichael, in his biography, Stokely. To understand how the issue of police brutality inspired social revolution in the 70s, please, white folks, read Black Against Empire, a comprehensive study of the history and politics of the Black Panthers by Joshua Bloom and Waldo Martin Jr. The struggle of Black working class folk is captured in Robin Kelly's landmark, Race Rebels. The effort to embrace the intersections of gender, class, sexuality, and feminist politics is portrayed in a series of pioneering books, including Andre Lord's Sister Outsider, Barbara Smith's The Truth That Never Hurts, Bell Hooks' Ain't I a Woman, Michelle Wallace's Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman, Kimberly Crenshaw's Critical Race Theory, and along with co-author Andrea Ritchie, Say Her Name, and Patricia Hill Collins, Black Feminist Thought. Beloved, white folks, these are just a few books to get you started. Of course, the classics must not be neglected. From Du Bois's The Soul of Black Folk, groundbreaking essays that limn the color line at the turn of the 20th century, to Ralph Ellingson's novel, Invisible Man, which wrestles with the perennial Black problem of not being seen by the white world. Ellison's collected essays are masterpieces of elegance and erudition. Erudition, a new word, Erudition. And you should pay attention to the personal and political essays of Leroy Jones / Amiri Baraka, June Jordan, Zora Neale Hurston, and her great novel rejecting racial uplift narratives, Their Eyes Were Watching God, and the essays of Alice Walker, along with The Color Purple, her captivating novel about the struggles of Black women for room to breathe and love in the South in the 1930s. Great Black autobiographies offer a peek into the struggles of some of our most important figures, from narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass to Booker T. Washington's Up From Slavery, from the autobiography of Malcolm X to Angela Davis, an autobiography, and from Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings to Barack Obama's Dreams from My Father. Beloved, you should read as much as you can about race and Black identity in the media too. Read gifted Black voices like Jamila Lemix, Jamilah Lemix, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's a familiar name, I think. William Jelani Cobb, Jamel Bowie, Jamelle Bouie, And William Jelani Cobb. Jelani is Jelani Cobb. Cobb. Eve Ewing, Ewing. Clint Smith, Wesley Lowry, Damon Young, Van Newkirk, Michael Denzel Smith, Bakari Kitwana, Bakari Kitwana, Rembert Brown, Rembert Browne, Wesley Morris, Nicole Hannah Jones, and Keisha Blaine. These are gifted Black voices. The miracle of social media permits greater accessibility than in the past to brilliant thinkers and scholars like Henry Louis Gates Jr., Mark Anthony Neal, Mark Lamont Hill, James Braxton Peterson, Salamisha Tillet, Salamishatillet, Stacey Patton, Keith Layman, Kieseelaymon, Melissa Harris Perry. I used to watch her. Treva Lindsay, Aubrey Hendricks, Jr., Oberydricks Jr., Farrah Griffin, Brittany Cooper, Stacey Floyd Thomas, Elizabeth Hinton, Alondra Nelson, Thaddeus Davis, Thadious, Tracy Deneen Sharpley Whiting, Carrie Day, Ebony Marshall Turman, Turman, Lawrence Bobo, Leah Wright Rigueur, LeahWright Rigueur, Marcellinia Morgan, Marcyllina, Marcellinina, Nell Painter. I've listened to Nell Painter a couple of times too. I think it was The Origin of White People or something like that. And thousands more. Beloved, you must not only read about Black life, but you must school your white brothers and sisters, your cousins and uncles, your loved ones and your friends, and all who will listen to you about the white elephant in the room, white privilege. Share with them what you learned about us, but share as well what you learned about yourself, about how whiteness works. You see, my friends, there's only so much I can say to white folks, only so much they can hear from me or anyone who isn't white. They may not be as defensive with you, so you must be an ambassador of truth to your own tribe. Just like the writers Peggy McIntosh, Tim Wise, David Roediger, Mab Segrist, Theodore Allen, and Joe Fegan. It is your obligation, beloved white folks, to school yourselves and other white folk too about the seductive, mythical neutrality of whiteness, the belief that you are somehow American without a racial identity, without racial baggage. While it is dangerous to say that all whites have equal access to wealth and education, one of my white students writes, the fact of the matter is that white people will not be followed in a store, frisked on a New York sidewalk, or shot by police at the same rate as Black people. Whites must understand that they benefit from white privilege in order to realize how white privilege creates the space for Black oppression. You see what my student did right there, beloved? He linked white privilege and Black oppression, not directly, mind you, but in a way that suggests that white privilege creates opportunities for Black oppression to take hold. If white folk refuse to name white privilege for what it is, then it is more likely that you will ignore how Black inequality, Black suffering exists all around you. Those of you who know better than that must tell other white people what you know. As one of my students says, if one stays silent, then one is actually helping racial injustice persist. Beloved, racism and bigotry are ugly, uncomfortable issues to grapple with. But if you don't address them, you reinforce the privilege of not having to face up to the truth. Beloved, white America, your participation in protests, rallies, local community meetings, and the like makes a huge difference. When we gather to express grief, outrage, and dissent, your presence sends the signal that this is not just a black thing. It is instead an American thing. Your white bodies don't just desegregate the images that communicate social concern. Your presence also puts your bodies and reputations on the line by identifying you with folk you are not supposed to have much in common with. Your presence adds greater moral weight to the gathering. It shouldn't have to be that way, but for now it is. My friends, white folk, I know that there is a valiant, even volatile history of white participation in black struggles for freedom. And some of your mothers and fathers, and your grandmothers and grandfathers too, got their feelings hurt when black folk told them their help was no longer needed. This was the case in the 60s when black folk were coming into our own, and younger black folk and more radical organizations wanted to feel their own power, take further charge of their own destinies. Surely, you know that white participation doesn't mean white takeover. You must grapple with how your participation isn't just to aid black and brown folk, though it is indeed admirable. It is also to fulfill your sense of destiny. One of your greatest prophets, Jim Wallace, the founder and leader of the Washington, D.C. based Christian community called Sojourners, hammered this home recently. Wallace quotes black theologian James Cone, who talks about repentance for white people as dying to whiteness. I want to say white Christians have been separated from God by the idolatry of whiteness. So we're not in this to help somebody else. We're in this for our own souls. Wallace's point underscores a vital need, my friends, the need to close the distance between the white self and the black other. In fact, viewing black folk or brown folk or gay folk or poor folk as the other is the problem. This country has just lived through the first black presidency in our nation's history. Whether one liked or loathed Barack Obama's politics, there's no denying that he is one of the most profound, impressive, gifted, and inspiring Americans this nation has seen in quite some time. And yet there was a relentless attempt to make him the other. The collective effort to deprive Obama of his legitimacy, of his citizenship, of his humanity, scarred the body politic and did great damage to our efforts to move this country beyond its heinous racial history. White folks, in your own lives, at your own jobs, in your own communities, and in your own minds, you must see and root out and oppose how black folk are routinely made the cultural other. You must resist the impulse to see black school children as the educational other. You must fight the inclination to dismiss black co-workers as the other because of their hairstyles, their dress, their speech, their demeanors. You must constantly ask yourself how you are thinking of and responding to the black folk you encounter in ordinary venues. When you are interviewing black folk for jobs, for fellowships, for positions in your service, are you seeing them as incapable of learning and adapting, just as white folks do? The dismissal of black and brown folk in this manner, often unconsciously, scars them with missed opportunity and denied humanity. Not knowing black folk intimately exacerbates the distance between the white self and the black other. One solution is new black friends. It is distressing that so few of you have more than a token black friend, maybe two. Every open-minded white person should set out immediately to find and make friends with black folk who share their interests. It's not as hard as it seems. Black folk come in every variety of belief, ideology, and politics, just as any other American does. And the vast majority of us are morally upright. Honestly, the fact that you do not know real, ordinary, splendid black folk is astonishing. The more black folk you know, the less likely you are to stereotype us. The less likely you stereotype us, the less likely you are to fear us. The less you fear us, the less likely you are to want to hurt us or to accept our hurt as the price of your safekeeping. The safer you feel, the safer we'll be. You get that? You hear that? White folks, the safer they feel, the safer we'll be. Beloved, Hopefully your new friends will make it easier for you to speak up against the injustice that Black folks face. Martin Luther King Jr. said that we would have to repent not only for the evil words and deeds of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. We need to hear your voices ring out against our suffering loud and clear. When a Black or brown youth is railroaded in a court system for possessing a negligible amount of marijuana, it makes a difference if a sea of white witnesses floods the airways or cyberspace or community halls or prosecutors' offices or congressional staff with emails, letters, speeches, and commentary about the injustice of such acts. If white folks take to social media and testify to how they got away with the very minor offenses that cause Black and brown folk trouble, that cause our kids to be sent to jail or prison, it might move the needle of awareness and set change in motion. If honest white voices speak up about how your own children are not expelled at the same rates as Black and brown kids for the same offenses, it will put pressure on local school boards to reconsider their unjust policies and practices. When there are traumatic public events that the world can see, we need clear white voices of resistance that the world can hear. Beloved, your voices are crucial because the doubt of Black humanity, the skepticism of Black intelligence, and the denial of the worth of Black bodies linger in our cultural unconscious and shadow our national politics. If you, white America, challenge white ignorance or indifference to the plight of people of color, it will lend our cause needed legitimacy. Needed legitimacy. One of the issues about which you might speak, especially in your own circles, is the distinction between the immigrant and Black American experiences. Of course, those experiences overlap. We often forget that Black folk who hail from the Caribbean or from Africa come to America seeking opportunity like any other immigrants. I have in mind the argument that Black folks should do like the European immigrants who come to America and worked hard to become successful. The best response to such a baseless comparison is a direct one. Whiteness matters. My friends, in the short term and in the long run too, being Irish or Italian or Polish or Jewish hasn't been as large a deficit to achievement as color has been for Black folk. Let me read that again. My friends, in the short term and in the long run too, being Irish or Italian or Polish or Jewish hasn't been as large a deficit to achievement as color has been for Black folk. It is true that the barriers of language, ethnicity, and culture are big ones, but they don't make the same difference that being Black makes. See, you saying them other folks can come here and get whatever and stuff. The language, they can be gotten over that barrier. Yeah, they can get over there right there so they can get them intangibles. And they all white anyway. White immigrants came to this country and still do with white skin. The biggest asset possible in a country where whiteness still has tremendous value. It makes no sense to tell Black folk to do what white immigrants did to become successful. My friends, white folks, if whiteness matters, slavery does too. The legacy of inequality is both formal and informal, both a matter of law and a matter of social convention. European immigrants certainly face their own barriers to assimilation, but neither the government nor the society used its legal and political power to stop immigrant success the way America did to stop Black folks for nearly 3 centuries. Black immigrants often have a leg up on American Blacks as well. They have arrived from societies where they enjoyed equality without regard to color. Thus, they arrive with great assets, skills, and experiences, allowing them to compete in the American marketplace. These Black immigrants face no color barriers to human capital like those we face in America. Neither can we discount the exotic appeal of foreign Blackness. Many white folk find it far more attractive to deal with a Black person from the Caribbean or Africa than American Blacks. Foreign Blacks lack the common history of oppression that binds Black Americans together. That difference is a big one for white folk. You you don't feel the sort of pressure of history when you encounter many of those immigrant blacks. Neither do you feel the sort of white racial guilt you may experience in the presence of American blacks. If you do a good enough job of reading up on the black experience, you can fight those arguments in your own circles. Beloved, you can also range far beyond your circles and visit black folk in schools, jails, churches. My friends, you should identify a school that you or your office or your company or your peers might adopt, and then visit that school to share your insight, your resources, or your expertise, or just your affirming, concerned presence. Become a mentor and offer career advice to older kids. Offer a word of encouragement to younger kids too, especially through school counselors who know that black kids must see folk being what they one day wish to become: engineers, lawyers, architects, construction workers, and yes, firefighters and cops. You should visit jails and prisons too. I make frequent trips to see my brother in prison, and I also visit other jails and prisons throughout the country. It is an eye opener. There is a pipeline, my friends, one that runs from classroom to jail, from the playground to the prison. That's the school to prison pipeline. When you visit the incarcerated, you will see how utterly decent most of these women and men are. Most of these men and women are. How they got a bad deal because they were poor with no one to advocate for them. Visiting a black church is just good for your soul. The best black churches do many of the things that religious folks should be doing if they are concerned about the poor and lost. They set up credit unions for their members. They offer housing for the elderly and the financially strapped. They offer counseling sessions for the mentally beleaguered. They offer ministries to the incarcerated that pay attention as well to the prison industrial complex. Of course, when you visit on a Sunday morning, you'll hear the magnificent music of our choirs, the thunderous waves we sing out the joy and ring out the blues by proclaiming faith in God through song. It is contagious. And you will hear some of the best preaching that the good Lord has ever unleashed on human ears. Many of these ministers are rock stars among the black faithful, and it is here where we benefit from their gifts, giving hope and inspiration to the congregations and leading and loving a people on the precipice of social chaos and urban despair, especially in a time of black and blue crisis. The best of them include Freddie Haynes at Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Lance Watson of St. Paul Baptist in Richmond, Virginia, Alan Waller at Enon Tabernacle Baptist in Philadelphia, Gina Stewart at Christ Missionary Baptist Church in Memphis, Marcus Cosby at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church in Houston, Rudolph McKissick at Bethel Baptist Institutional Church in Jacksonville, Otis Morris III at Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago, Jawanza Colvin at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church in Cleveland, Calvin O. Butts III at Obsidian Baptist Church in New York, W. Franklin Richardson at Grace Baptist in Mount Vernon, New York, Cynthia Hale at Ray of Hope Christian Church in Atlanta, Vashti McKenzie, the first female elected as bishop in the AME Church, serving the state of Texas, and Howard John Wesley of Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia. They tell the truth about black pain and offer abundant inspiration and hope. Beloved, all of what I have said should lead you to empathy. It sounds simple, but its benefits are profound. Whiteness must shed its posture of confidence, its will to omniscience, its belief in its goodness and purity, and then walk a mile or two in the boots of black people, of blackness. The siege of hate will not end until white folk imagine themselves as black folk, vulnerable despite our virtues. If enough of you, white folks, one by one, exercises your civic imagination and puts yourself in the shoes of your black brothers and sisters, you might develop a democratic impatience for injustice, for the cruel disregard of black life, for the careless indifference to our plight. Empathy must be cultivated. The practice of empathy means taking a moment to imagine how you might behave if you was in our positions. Do not tell us how we should act if we was you. Imagine how you would act if you was us. Imagine living in a society where your white skin marks you for disgust, hate, and fear. Imagine that for many moments. Only when you see black folks as we are and imagine yourselves as we have to live our lives, only then will the suffering stop, the hurt cease, the pain go away. And now we on chapter 7. Offering plate. Yeah, this is it right here. This is it. Thank you so much. Besides the crime which consists in violating the law, there is commonly injury done to some person or other, and some other man receives damage by his transgression. In which case, he who hath received any damage has, besides the right of punishment common to him with other men, a particular right to seek reparation from him that have done it. And in any other person who finds it just may also join with him that is injured, and assist him in recovering from the offender so much as may make satisfaction from the harm he has suffered. John Locke. Beloved, white folks, I was proud to be a member of the Georgetown University faculty in September 2016, nearly 2 centuries after the nation's most prominent Jesuit priest sold 272 enslaved human beings to salvage their university's financial future. I sat in Gaston Hall as Georgetown President John DeGoya announced plans to atone for the past. DeGoya said that day he would offer a formal apology on behalf of the university, establish an institute to study slavery, and erect a public memorial to the slaves who labored to sustain Georgetown, including those men, women, and children, the youngest a 2-month-old baby, who sailed in 1838, saved the school. And now, nearly 2 centuries later, I, an ordained Baptist minister, was the highest ranking black professor at a Catholic institution that once trafficked in human flesh. My friends, my pride was tempered by profound grief and anger that any school should rest on the uncompensated labor of folk whose only sin was their skin. It violates every tenet of serious scholarship. It offends every fiber of my being as a black man, as a descendant of enslaved folk in this country. After DeGoya made his announcement that day, a remarkable thing occurred. History spoke up for itself. History spoke up for itself. Several direct descendants of the 272, as the enslaved were called, rose to meet the audience and make a statement. They had not been invited to attend, much less expected to speak. But beloved, the Spirit sometimes moves in mysterious ways. One of the group members read a prepared document that eloquently expressed their appreciation for Georgetown's efforts to address slavery and its consequences in the present. There was a huge applause. And then came off-the-cuff remarks from one of the descendants that were just as powerful, just as effective. His group, he said, was the face of the suffering endured by their enslaved ancestors. And our attitude is nothing about us without us. He argued that reconciliation couldn't possibly start off by alienating the very descendants of the 272 enslaved the school was honoring. He said they were not seeking reparations, but a partnership to heal the nation's racism. Beloved, truth is rarely neat. It is often messy. Black truth in white America is especially inconvenient, often not on the program, yet insisting to be heard. To his credit, DeGoya showed no hint of defensiveness. He embraced the spirit of partnership that had been extended. DeGoya knows this gesture of atonement is only a start. He knows that offering preferential status in the admissions process to the descendants of the enslaved is just the beginning. Next comes more substantive reckoning with the morale, and political consequences of what was done to our hallowed academic ground 2 centuries ago. What was done on our hallowed academic ground 2 centuries ago. The descendant said he wasn't asking for reparations. But beloved, if we in this nation are to live up to the demands of justice, we should. Chapter 8. Prelude to service. In the early hours of November 9, 2016, the winner of the presidential election was declared. All around was the unmistakable signs of normalization and progress. So many were falling into line without being pushed. It was happening at tremendous speed, like a contagion. Evil settles into everyday life when people are unable or unwilling to recognize it. It makes its home among us when we are keen to minimize it or describe it as something else. This is not a process that began a week or a month or a year ago. It did not begin with drone assassinations, or with the war in Iraq. Evil has always been here, but now it has taken on a totalitarian tone. And that's Teju Cole. Teju Cole, Tejucole. What gives me so much pause and makes me feel so badly is that the country is willing to be that intolerant and not understand the empathy that's necessary to understand other groups' situation. I'm a rich white guy, and I'm sick to my stomach thinking about it. I couldn't imagine being a Muslim right now, or a woman, or an African American, a Hispanic, a handicapped person, and how disenfranchised they might feel. And for anyone in those groups that voted for Trump, it's just beyond my comprehension how they ignored all of that. And that was Greg Popovich. Beloved, the deed has been done. We have, since that we must contain by virtue of our system of government, if not the will, then at least the implied consent of even the people who oppose with all their souls the choice you made, elected Donald J. Trump as President of the United States of America. Trump as President of the United States of America. Please take measure of every phrase in that sentence. Donald J. Trump, the man who unjustly called into question the citizenship of Barack Obama, our first black president. The man who gave consolation to a gnawed federation of bigots. The man who lent his considerable indignity to berating Muslims, Mexicans, black folk, the other able, women, and so many other vulnerable populations. This man has now become the world's most powerful man because he is the President of the United States of America, the most powerful nation in history. For millions, this is nothing short of a nightmare, or perhaps more accurately, a white mare. The election of President Trump was all about whiteness. All about whiteness. How whiteness is ingeniously adaptable to a gross variety of circumstances. How it is at once capable of exulting in privilege while proclaiming it is the least privilege of identities. How it is able to hide in plain sight while detesting every other identity that doesn't and can't conform to its imperative to invisibility. And how it howls in primal pain at being forgotten while it rushes to spitefully forget and erase all the suffering that isn't its own. You will deny it, of course, white folks, although already many of those who once bitterly denounced what President Trump stood for in startling reversal of their previous positions embrace the possibility of his goodness, or at least his fitful utility, a trend that will no doubt continue into the future. My friends, the mistake we often make is to believe that whiteness is only prejudice, that it is only bigotry, that it is only racism, that it is only the cry of hate, that is only partly true. The other part of whiteness is the delusion that it can supply every need that our country has. Both of these impulses suffocate the vitality of democracy. Beloved, Donald Trump is what we are left with when whiteness drains the body politic of crucial self-awareness and we stiffen into a moral corpse. When the defenders of whiteness proclaim that it is not whiteness that was at stake in electing Trump, but instead the ache of poverty and class, what they mostly always fail to mention is that millions of black and brown folks are poor or working class too. It is only the white lower and middle classes whose silent suffering is portrayed as having got a president elected. As important as their economic vulnerability is, it is not the major engine of their disgust. Rather, it is the fury of whiteness unleashed, of whiteness unbounded, of whiteness made, not less white, but even whiter by its class rage, a rage that oddly leaves aside solitude with millions of other hurting souls whose only reason for exclusion is their color. Beloved, when the defenders of whiteness argue that the white folk who supported candidate Trump were not magnetized by his miserably shining hatefulness toward many others, they defy the physics of race and the algorithm of bigotry. There's a fairly easy calculus to racism. If it increases rather than decreases the force, energy, and structure of racial antagonism, then it is racist, no matter the intent or conscious aim of its perpetrator. Many white folk, including the wealthy and the surprising numbers of women who voted for him, whether they can admit it or not, were attracted to candidate Trump not because he wasn't President Obama, which is a reasonable political choice, but because he wasn't the black man who had taken their country. Make America Great Again is hardly coded and not primarily or merely a brilliantly deceptive campaign slogan, but a sturdy credo and the gist of faith in whiteness. The gist of faith in whiteness. To make America great again is in truth to make America white again. Some might argue that that can't possibly be the case. After all, America twice elected Obama to the presidency, yet we fail to see that a majority of white folk never liked Obama and never wanted him as president. They never invited him metamorphically into their homes. The majority of white folk just got outvoted twice. Beloved, a massive white rebellion was foreminted in our midst, a rebellion driven by resentment of a black man in charge. Resentment, too, of the widely perceived yet grossly exaggerated black benefit under Obama. That black folk got an unfair leg up, all because finally, for the first time in 220 years, a black man darkened the Oval Office. It is hard to overstate just how poisonous Obama was believed to be in the precincts of a spurning, rebutting whiteness, a whiteness that measured the seconds until he would no longer be in that White House, in our, or rather their, White House. Millions of white people couldn't wait to return power to the white hands from which it had been cruelly snatched away for 8 years. They couldn't wait to celebrate the victory of the most brazenly white man to claim the presidency since Andrew Johnson. Beloved, there is a truth to Trump's election that many of you refuse to see. Too many white folk are willing to imperil the ship of state because they lust for revenge. It is in truth, revenge, the unrepentant mutiny of a rogue white crew. They seem willing to cast aside a seasoned leader because of her gender and her connection to the previous captain. Instead, they have embraced a fatally inexperienced skipper who threatens to wreck the vaunted vessel of government in the rocky waters of political ignorance. Whether he wishes to be or not, Donald Trump is the epitome, not only for white ignorance, not only of white ignorance and white privilege, but of white power, white rage, and yes, even of white supremacy. The greatly stepped up harassment of people of color and Muslims, and immigrants in the wake of Trump's election points to the sea change in our naked tolerance for such assaults, and the permission granted to diabolical forces that rob us even more of comity, comity, even more of comity and support of the commonweal, commonweal, commonweal. Donald Trump harms our nation's positive racial future. Yes, beloved white folks, there remains, after all, the blackness that is prophecy, the blackness that is inexplicable hope in the face of savage hopelessness. The great black prophet and mystic Howard Thurman says it best. At the time when the slaves in America were without any excuse for hope, and they could see nothing before them but the long, interminable cotton rows and the fierce sun and the lash of the overseer, what did they do? They declared that God was not through. They said, we cannot be prisoners of this event. We must not scale down the horizon of our hopes and our dreams and our yearnings to the level of the event of our lives. So they lived through their tragic moment until at last they came out on the other side. saluting the fulfillment of their hopes and their faith. Beloved, white folks, if the enslaved could nurture on the vine of their desperate deficiency of democracy the spiritual and moral fruit that fed our civilization, then surely we can name and resist demagoguery. Demagoguery. We can protest and somehow defeat the forces that threaten the soul of our nations. To not try, to give up on the possibility that we can make a difference, can make the difference, is to give up on our past, on our complicated, difficult, but victorious past. Donald Trump is not our final or ultimate problem. The problem is instead allowing hopelessness to steal our joy, triumph, before we work hard enough to achieve it. And this is chapter 9, closing prayer. It was like a, when the pastor get ready to end the sermon and stuff. Everything wanted to be loved. Everything want to be loved. Us sing and dance and holler, just trying to be loved. And that was Alice Walker in The Color Purple. We got the book Color Purple too. Some of the books that was in here, we got them. I'm gonna look for them. It's only like 2 or 3. Oh God, the hour is dark. The suffering is great, but we will not give up. We will not surrender. We will not surrender because we have endured the lash of spite and the whip of hate on our backs. We will not surrender because we know that faith is greater than fear. Good triumpheth over evil. Love more noble than hate. We will not surrender because our mothers and our fathers and their mothers and their fathers and their mothers and their fathers and their mothers and their fathers too believed in you, believed in us, believed that no obstacle put in their way could stop them. They believed that the grace you gave them for their journeys would outlast any challenge to their hearts and minds. We will not surrender because your endearing and indestructible word feeds the souls of our people. We will not surrender because blackness is a gift that has blessed the world beyond compare. Our minds and our hearts and our tongues and bodies too have made earth a better place to live. We will not surrender because we have survived. Oh God, we are not naive. We are not naive. We know, just as white America knows, that our legion, multiple, complicated, adaptable, triumphant blackness threatens whiteness. Oh God, you place the paradox in our midst like a rainbow at the end of a storm. If we are to understand America, we must understand blackness. Oh Lord, Black folk are everything. We are every possibility of American, even human, identity made real. That means we are everywhere, just like our white brothers and sisters. We are going nowhere. We are your children too. We will survive. We are America. And we finished it. Thank you so much. We finished it. Finished it. I thank y'all so much. Keep some gratitude and keep a song in your heart. Yeah. This right here must have been during the first presidency of Donald Trump, because now we actually seeing from what our brother Michael Eric Dyson was saying to what it's looking like now. Everything being stripped away to make America great again. Make America great again. What does it all mean? We got to start thinking about it. We got to fight this with the pen now. Got to get in place. We got to fight this with the pen now. Find them loopholes. You find them loopholes in them laws and stuff. Make new laws. Get us out of this bullshit with white American stuff. White America didn't do any suggestion in any book that would have helped them. Now, I know white folks read. White folks read. They know. They knew what to do. They didn't do it then. They didn't do it after then. They ain't did it now. We got to fight this with the pen and the paper. With the pen and on that ballot. When they come out with these laws and shit, make them politicians. Yeah, I got to find out too. How to get the message to their ass and stuff. Now, you ain't finna keep passing this bullshit. Keep passing all this bullshit back and forth in front of our faces. And then before we know it, goddamn it, we got a huge ass 5G tower right there, right there, right there, and right there. 5 of them, back to back. All of these things that they doing and stuff. Let Trump erase everything. Yeah, get your pen. Get your book, your notebooks and stuff. We reading to learn so we can best benefit and help our people to get us out of this bullshit. Stop this bullshit. If white America want to live like that, if they want that future, that's on them. We ain't part of that. No, we ain't. If it's gonna be two goddamn Americas, so motherfucking be it. It's gonna be two motherfucking Americas, Black America and white America. This division, all of this division and shit, it won't go no further. No, it won't go no further. Not with us knowing it won't. It ain't finna be dividing us from each other. It's finna divide us from they motherfucking ass. That's what's finna happen. Get your pen and get ready. I'm just saying, process this tonight. I thank y'all so much. I thank you and I love you. I love you to life and afterlife. Oh, what's happening? Everything. Oh, we just finished a new book. We just finished our latest book. And Tears We Cannot Stop. And I was just commenting on some stuff, because he did give mention to a whole lot in this book. It was so very welcoming. I really enjoyed it too. Like being in church again. And he spoke on Trump a little bit and stuff. And white folk that had read this and knew what to do, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And he said exactly why they didn't do it. Because revenge. Getting Obama in there for 8 years, white folk wanted the revenge about this shit. And yeah, they couldn't wait to get the brashiest, cockiest, loudest white man supremacists up in there and shit. And that's what they did. So yeah, it was another opportunity for white America to make things right. All of these opportunities, they never take them. So yeah, we know how we got to fight this now. And don't let people think that we're not fighting just because we're not out there in the streets. Just because we're not out there in the streets with everybody else. We're not out there in the streets with everybody else because it's time for us to start fighting with the pen. It's time for us to get in on that pen and paper and see who passing what, who trying to do what. How can we get in there and stop that bullshit? Them executive orders, 14092 and 14290 is, I got to get them in order and stuff. All that bullshit right there. Yeah, 7 years of the Great Society programs, 7 years of programs is supposed to replace 400 years of bullshit under white America. That don't even make no sense. Yeah, get your pen and paper. Get your pen and paper. It's time for us to learn and let they motherfucking ass know. Oh, we know what's going on. We know what's going on. See, if we had been reading, and I didn't even know Dr. Claude Anderson, to tell the truth and stuff, but if we had been reading, we would have been knowing what the fuck they were doing, what they were doing up there in them high pinnacle seats and them political seats, them educational seats and shit. We would have been knowing what they asses was doing. But see, we ain't been reading nothing all this time and stuff. I know I ain't. I'm new to all of this. But see, now's the time. We doing it now. That's what counts. But I love you, and I'll see you next reading.